No.
Before we dive into the story, I wanted to quickly thank Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. If
Right.
you're on my channel, there's a good chance you like being a little scared. Well, the explosion of online scammers, identity thieves, and data scrapers is scary, but not the fun kind of scary. In fact, it's hard to enjoy anything on the web when you're worried about your information getting stolen. But with Surfshark, your data is hidden behind cutting-edge encryption and the toughest VPN protocols available. Even on public Wi-Fi, you won't have to worry about someone intercepting your login credentials or payment details. Plus, Surfshark's clean web service filters out threats like scam attempts and deceptive websites. Surfshark lets you move through the web like a ghost. You can go through walls by bypassing location restrictions on streaming content and watch your favorite Netflix shows, even if they're not available where you live. You can vanish from sight by spoofing your GPS location on apps that want to track you. And you'll leave no footprints, as Surfshark never records your browsing history. Unlike other VPNs, you can have Surfshark on as many devices as you want, and by default, it connects you to the fastest server available, so being safe won't slow you down. Best of all, you can get Surfshark VPN for 83% off, with the first 3 months completely free. Just go to surfshark.deal/MJV and enter promo code MJV and start browsing worry-free right away.
Okay. I have a quesadilla in the oven, so I'm gonna get up some point in this video and go get that quesadilla. Now let's really get into it.
I just started a new job at a motel. It was low pay, but I needed an office job. I'm 20.
Motel? More like clubtail. Ha!
21 and a female.
Oh
One of
my
my
God.
friends named Michael got me the job. For a few days, I did training with the owner in the mornings, and for 2 nights, Michael trained me. Our job was the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. It
Damn.
was nothing exciting, just checking in guests and doing paperwork. My boss had went away with his wife on vacation for a week, which caused me to get minimal training as I was hired just before he left. Anyway, it was my first night alone on the night shift. There was a monitor with security cameras around the motel's property, and there was a large glass window all around the office building with a glass door. It
Wow.
was fairly early in the night, at around 1 a.m., and I was just doing my normal check-in paperwork. That's when a man walks in, and he asks if I have any rooms available. Usually, if someone's sketchy, my boss has me lie and say no, but he seemed normal at the moment. Without hesitation, I said, "Yeah, of course, just for one?" And he replied saying yeah. So I began creating the reservation on the computer when I noticed he starts swatting the air and mumbling to himself. I try to ignore it. As far as I was concerned, it wasn't my business.
You know what? You know what? You know what? You know what? There's no rooms available. There's not. Shut up. There's not. Shut your ass. No. Shut your sus ass up. Your red eye. Where's all that red coming from? Huh? No. You clucky. Get the hell out of here. Just talking about.
So I try to check him into the room as quickly as possible. I give him his key and he's on his way. After a few minutes, the man comes back from his room and slams his hand on the glass door, which causes me to jump. Absolutely terrified, I look up and see him staring at me. He cracks open the door and puts his head through and says,
I can't get in my room. Can you help me?
No, I'm
my only
good.
defense was trying to be helpful, so I replied, "Maybe there's something wrong with your key. Let me get you another one." The look he had in his eyes was creepy to say the least. This guy was definitely not in his right mind. I handed him his new key and he went back to his room. I tried texting Michael because he was the one who trained me, though it was in the middle of the night and he was probably asleep. I just needed some guidance. With no reply from Michael, I noticed the man trudging back down the stairs to come back. This was when I go into absolute panic mode. I run back into the office and lock the door. I pull out my pocket knife. It's important to keep something on you to defend yourself during the night. I hear the man in the office saying,
Hello? Hello? I still can't get in my room.
Me being an absolute idiot and not standing my ground and calling the police when I'm feeling scared, I decided to take the situation on alone. I reply, saying I'm on the phone and I'll be right out. I then start frantically calling Michael over and over for help, but no answer. I decided to take a few deep breaths and step out of the office. Although the man wasn't there. He was now in the bathroom. I
Wow.
start hearing him talking to himself, this time angrily saying stuff about killing me. My heart sank. I was still being an idiot and not calling the police.
God
He comes
damn.
out and I say, "Your key must be broken. Let me escort you to your..."
He close as shit. Like, he's Cluck, 6 feet. You know what I mean? Cluck, that whole, it's an epidemic going on. Nah, he don't care about that. Wow, he's totally in Cluck region. Cluck, you know what I mean? He's within arm's length. Cluck length. He's right, like... Let me check my quesadilla. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, no, I'm ready. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, shit. Woo. My quesadilla failed. Almost failed. Let me correct myself. It almost failed. Oh, I was gonna be pissed. Oh, my God. Oh, I was gonna be pissed. Oh, my God. Holy shit. Relax. Clocking to relax. Hold on. And it almost slipped because I got the foil. I have foil where it's like non-slips. You know what I mean? So like, it like, I just want to see some. Hold on. I just want to see some. Let me see some. Oh, it's hot. It's hot. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. That's that. Yeah. Oh. Woke up.
Room. He agrees. I was wearing a long-sleeved sweater, so with my arms down I was able to hide my knife in my hand while holding it. I began to walk outside, and he seemed insistent to walk behind me. We began making our way to the staircase and up towards his room. I was sweating from how nervous I was, continuously looking behind me to make sure he wasn't going to make a move. He stops at our room, and I stop at his room a few doors down. I smile and tell him he must have been trying the wrong room, as it clearly said on the door. He understood, but then asked me if I wanted to come inside with him. He said it in such a creepy way. At this, I quickly ran back to the office and locked the door. This time I called the police, but when they arrived, the guy was gone. I explained to my boss what happened when he got back from vacation. However, he didn't take me seriously. I continued to work there on the night shift for the next year, but still, this one night...
The next year. The next year. You know how many days are in a year? 365. You know how many weeks that is? I don't know exactly, but you know what I mean? Like that's a whole lot of potential cluckness going on.
It still terrifies me. I truly believe that guy planned on killing me that night for whatever reason.
My name is Andrea, and I'm a single mother.
Right.
I don't tell you this like it's some badge of honor and I'm expecting cookies, milk, and chocolate-covered snowflakes like most of the others in my social circle would. They want your pats on the back in recognition. I just want some of your time. I see motherhood as a burden. Necessary, yes, but still a burden. My son's name is Jesse. He's 11. That's 5th grade for the math haters. Jesse started the 5th grade this year like any other kid would. There was a little bit of trepidation and lots of excitement. He was a happy-go-lucky sort of kid, full of life and energy. All that changed after he met Stan on Tuesday. Stan was a late addition to Jesse's class, a transfer student from another district. Jesse's teacher sat Stan next to Jesse. When I picked Jesse up after school on Tuesday, he told me that Stan was his new best friend. He wasn't acting like himself, though. I took his temperature, but he wasn't running a fever.
He got
I
that
asked
Rona.
about his day, and all he would tell me was that Stan was his new best friend. Stan is my new best friend, Jesse
Who
would
the hell
say.
who is
I
Stan?
know, I can't wait to meet him, I'd say back.
Me
Mom,
too.
Stan is great. You should meet him. He's my new best...
Watch Jesse be like, Stan is just he's in the back seat. You don't see him? What you talking about?
best friend. The best in the world.
Okay, relax.
We must have had the same conversation 1,000 times that night. When I tucked Jesse in bed, he looked up at me with tears in his eyes. He put his little hand in front of his face and wiggled his index finger, telling me to come closer. I bent over him, and he put his hands to either side of his mouth.
Stand right
Little
there.
kid way of telling a secret.
Stand right
I
there.
turned my head, and he whispered something into my ear that chilled me.
He right
At the
there.
time, I didn't know why it chilled me, but it did.
He right there.
He
Watch.
whispered, "You believe me, right, Mom?" I sat back up and looked down at him. "Believe you about what, honey?" "Stan," he said. "Stan's my best friend." I nodded and took his temperature once more. Again, he wasn't running a fever. I went to bed but couldn't really sleep that night.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, when I pulled up to the school to drop Jesse off, he got this really weird look on his face and told me that he didn't want to go in. "Are you feeling sick?" I asked. "No,"
Possessed.
he said.
He
He
feeling
was chewing on his
possessed.
bottom lip like crazy. This was
Possessed.
something else I'd never seen him do. "No, I need to go to school." He opened the car door and got out. No goodbye, no I love you, nothing.
Possessed.
He trudged up the front steps of the school with his head down. I let off the brake and turned away to drive to work. A little boy was standing right in front of my car. 2
Stand.
more seconds and I would have run him over. The boy was pale, with a mop of blonde hair that was almost white and bright blue eyes. He knocked on the hood of my car twice, waved once, and walked up the stairs to school. When I picked Jesse up after school on Wednesday, he looked a lot better. He was a tiny bit paler than normal, but he seemed happy. He told me all about his day. He told me about dinosaurs and music and math. And then he told me about recess. And then, after math period, we had recess. "Mom, you'll never guess what I did today at recess." "Tell me," I said, smiling to myself as I'm driving. I'm thinking tag, football, keep away, all the things
Ah, and I'm thinking, clock nets.
I remember the boys doing at recess when I was that age. Something benign, something normal. I joined a church.
Wow.
I frowned at this. A church? At recess? Jesse nodded. The Church of Stan.
Wow.
I thought that it must be some sort of new make-believe game that kids were playing. "What's the Church of Stan?" I asked. "It's Stan's church, Mom." Jesse laughed like I was the silliest person in the world for asking that question. "What do you guys do, though? You know, as members?" I asked. "Lots of stuff. Today, though, we just listened to Stan talk. He was saying some funny words, and I got sleepy and dozed off. A bunch of us did." I pulled into the driveway at home, and we got out. "What was it?" I asked. Things sounded weird for sure, but the kids didn't seem to be doing anything wrong. "Stan gave us flyers, too." Jesse pulled out a crinkled-up piece of paper and handed it to me. It was a manila piece of paper with 3 words written in black marker. Church of Stan. Again, weird, but nothing wrong. I thought the boys were playing make-believe. I was wrong.
Yeah.
When I picked Jesse up after school yesterday, I could tell that something was very wrong with my little boy. He looked panicked and scared. "What's going on, honey?" I asked, reaching out to feel his forehead. "No fever." "We played the soul game today,"
Oh.
he said.
Oh.
Jesse's head was on a swivel. He couldn't sit still.
Oh.
He kept looking all around as we headed home. "The soul game?" I asked. Jesse just nodded and kept trying to look everywhere at once. Beads of sweat dotted his upper lip. "What's the soul game?" I asked. Jesse shook his head and said nothing. "Jesse, what's the soul game?" I asked. I told him I didn't want to, But he said he wouldn't be my friend anymore if I didn't play. Who wouldn't be your friend? And where were the teachers?
Mom, where the hell is Stan at? What's up? What's up? What's up?
Jesse started breathing harder, but still answered. It happened in the church, he said. Then he whispered, Teachers aren't allowed in the church.
Yeah?
The Church of Stan? I asked. Jesse nodded, and a tear slipped down his cheek. Watch the Soul Game, Jesse. I'm your mother. You tell me right now and I'll take care of everything, I said.
Doubt it.
I can't tell you, Mom. I can't. The rules are bad. They're so bad. What about Stan? I asked. Will Stan tell me the rules? No! Jesse screamed this and scared me half to death. Don't ask him the rules. Please don't, Mom. Please. I pulled into the driveway, scared and confused. Promise me, Mom. Promise me, promise me, promise me, please. Jesse was bawling now, terrified. I took him into my arms and rocked him. I hadn't rocked him like that since he'd been in kindergarten. He fell asleep in my arms and I carried him inside. I took him straight to his room and got him ready for bed. He just needs sleep, I kept telling myself. All he needs is sleep. I put him in his bed and ate dinner alone. I checked up on him around 9 when I went to bed. He seemed to be sleeping so well, so I decided to go to sleep. I woke up to him screaming at the top of his lungs 18 minutes after midnight last night. I ran to his room, but he wasn't in his bed. I turned on the light, and Jesse came flying out of the closet like something was chasing him. He lashed onto my leg and kept screaming. I tried to calm him down and ask what was wrong at the same time. He wasn't making any sense. He kept screaming about the Soul Game. He was impossible. I kept asking him what that was, but he wouldn't tell me. I tried to put him back to bed, but he would have none of it. Finally, I just took him to my room and he slept in my bed. Jesse fell right to sleep. I was lying on my side watching him, stroking his hair, when his eyes popped open and he stared right into mine.
God damn.
I'll tell you the rules after school tomorrow, lady.
Lady. Wow.
Then he closed his eyes.
Lady?
What was going on with my kid?
He just called you.
In the darkness, I stared at the ceiling for a long time before rolling over to my side and staring into the bathroom. You know when you're on the edge of sleep, sometimes your leg will kick and jerk you awake? Or you'll imagine you're falling, or that you've just tripped over something and get jerked awake? That happened to me last night. Only I kept being ripped from sleep by seeing something in the doorway to the bathroom. Every time my eyes would start to slip shut, I'd see the dark outline of something large in the doorway and jerk awake. Of course, nothing would be there, and I would start falling asleep again. The outline would appear in the doorway once more, but it would be closer to me, like it had taken a baby step. Over and over this happened until morning. This morning on the way to school, Jesse seemed out of it, lethargic. I felt the same way.
Possessed.
I was even more exhausted.
Possessed.
I thought of asking Jesse about what he'd said right before he fell asleep, but couldn't. I was afraid it would send him into hysterics again. I drove him to school, and he didn't say a word the whole time. He was acting like a robot, listless, unemotional. I got a call shortly after dropping him off to come pick him back up. He vomited in class. When I picked him up, he was the same. I asked him several questions, but he only gave me grunts in response. The plan at home was to get him changed out of his dirty clothes and then take him to the doctor. He didn't say anything until we pulled into the driveway. Can Stan come over today?
Nah.
He asked.
Hell nah.
He stared out the windshield at the garage door. You're not feeling well, honey, and do you really want him to come over? I asked. I wanted to meet this kid, but it didn't sound like Jesse wanted him over.
You really, honest to God, like, heart to heart, you really want to meet Stan? The reason your kid is acting the way he's acting is because of Stan, and you really want to bring him into your house? They're both cluckies. The Jesse and the mom are both cluckies.
I, however, wanted to get to the bottom of things. Yes, Jesse said. Okay, I said. Do you have his parents' number? He already asked his parents and they said it was okay. We have to wait until he's out of class, and I'd still like to talk to his parents. Okay. Jesse got out of the car, and we walked into the house. You have their number? I asked as I shut the door. No, he said. I started to ask him how I was supposed to call them if I didn't have their number, but someone knocked on the door. I was still standing right next to it.
Is it that kid from the beginning?
I opened the door, and standing on my front step was the pale little boy with the blue eyes and mop of white blonde hair that I'd almost run over on Wednesday. A little girl stood next to him with the same complexion. Yes? I asked. Hi, Driz, the little boy said. Is Jesse home? The little boy standing on my front porch shouldn't have known that name. It was my nickname from college.
Wow.
Created on a drunken night amongst my girlfriends.
God damn.
Shortened from Drizzy.
Damn.
No, I said. That's fine, the little girl said. My name is Devin, and you already know my brother's name. Stan, I said. The little girl covered her mouth and giggled. Stan smiled and shrugged. It's really quite simple. Rule 1, don't walk past the mirrors in the dark. Rule 2, don't leave any doors open when you go to bed tonight. Ask your son what Rule 3 is, and remember, a creak means you're falling behind. A rustle means you've almost lost. When the lights go down, hopefully you won't see the dark shadow standing in the corner of the room.
God damn!
Hopefully you won't hear it breathing as your eyes shut and you begin to drift off. And if you hear a bang, well, hopefully you'll never hear a bang. Stan turned and walked away with his sister. I stared at them both and shook my head. I wouldn't play their stupid game. I walked into the house and found Jesse sitting at the kitchen table, crying. What's wrong? I asked. I heard a bang, he whispered. My mouth went dry. Damn. When does the game end? I asked. It doesn't, he whispered. It never ends.
Oh.
My heart started beating faster. Watch the third rule, Jesse. His face fell, and he sucked in a deep breath. Rule 3. Knowing all 3 rules makes you a player. My stomach dropped. What happens if you lose? When it's dark, you'll hear them coming.
Oh.
They like to let you know when they're getting close. Who? Stan and Devin,
No.
Jesse said. They'll reach out through the mirrors or open doorways and drag you through. How do you win? I asked. You win if you tell more people the rules to the soul game than the person that told you does.
Shit.
I worked night security for a mall back in 2014. I'm a 6'7" male, and I like to think of myself as a fairly tough and intimidating guy. The mall I worked at was really big. It was probably the largest in my state, and all the way up to about 8:30 p.m., it would still be quite busy. Only around 9:30 would we manage to usher out all the stragglers, and only at about 11 would all the business owners leave. My job was basically to patrol the mall and make sure there was no one sticking around after the doors were closed during the night. Now, we didn't have guns or batons, only a can of mace that was very rarely used. There were multiple occasions where we would find would-be thieves hiding or trying to break into shops after dark, but they were normally far outnumbered by the 4 or 5 of us on shift at a time, and they would usually be intimidated by me or some of the other imposing members of security. This one night, though, things started getting really weird for me on the night shift. I'd say it was about 2 a.m., and I was standing in the middle of the empty food court eating a sandwich. This was the only part of the mall that had any light at nighttime, due to the skylight, so it was comfortable to eat there. While I was eating, though, I heard a banging noise from the hallway leading off from the food courts and to some of the bathrooms. It sounded like a stall door being slammed shut.
Nah.
I was immediately put on edge, and I flicked on my flashlight. I can remember creeping down the hallway, flashlight in hand, illuminating a good few feet in front of me. The mall was almost pitch black everywhere else.
Whoa!
As I got closer to the end of the hall, the noise became louder, until I was at the end of the hallway, and there were the bathroom doors on the left and right of me. I could tell the sound was coming from the female bathroom, though. I gripped the handle and opened the tiny door a little crack. The noise was very clear now, and at this point it didn't have me scared, but confused.
Nah, it got me
I yelled,
scared.
Hey, is anyone in here?
The noise quickly stopped. I paused a moment, listening hard through the tiny crack of the door, and I swear I could hear breathing.
He
I
get
instantly
one.
shut the doors.
He get one off. He get one off. Like, nah, yeah.
Still gripping the handle tightly and flicked on my radio. This is 1-3. I need help in the food court bathrooms. I think someone's here. I got no response. This was really strange, and it put me further on edge. Policy was to always answer the radio, no matter what. This is 1-3. Does anyone copy? Still no response. I again opened the door a tiny crack. Listen, dude, I said, sounding as intimidating as possible. If you don't come out with your hands up, you're not going to like the outcome. I sat there at the door, quite honestly terrified at this point, but there was no response. In fact, there was no noise at all. It went completely silent. I finally yelled out in the bathroom, "Alright, dude, I'm coming in. If you do anything stupid, it's not my fault you'll never walk again." I tried my hardest to sound scary, but my voice was quivering at this point. This whole situation made no sense at all. Why would someone be in the female bathrooms? I very slowly opened the door and scanned my flashlight slowly across the room. All the stall doors were open, and the room was completely empty. I was definitely losing it at this point. I built up enough courage to walk into the center of the bathroom, closing the door behind me.
Oh my God.
After a couple seconds of further searching with my flashlight, I heard the creaking of the door behind me. I span around, basically crying at this point, and shone my flashlight on a huge dude. He was at least a head taller than me. He was Caucasian, and at least in his 40s with gray hair all over his forehead. He was mid-opening the door, but stopped dead in the middle of his action when I put my flashlight on him. He just looked at me, smiling. I'm not gonna lie, I was so scared I froze. He lifted his finger up to his mouth, signifying the shush gesture, before swinging the door open all the way and sprinting out with what looked like to be a small knife in his hand.
God dang!
This guy was just behind the entrance door when I was opening it, and I totally missed him. I was so close to him, and I didn't even notice. He could have killed me if he wanted, and that thought still haunts me to this day. Later that night, my radio started working again, and I instantly told my coworkers about my story. They collectively went pale, and I told them what happened. They all had similar stories, and had also seen the guy at some point that night, although he was never caught. The other staff working that night fully sweeped them all after my encounter with them. I didn't sweep it with them, as I was too disturbed at that point. I worked the night shift for another week after that before I quit. I'm not sticking around a job like that after the experience I went through.
You were 6'7". And you said he was a foot taller than you. That's tall as hell. I'm glad you quit and did nothing else like it, like a job like that ever again. Like that was dead. But the one that the story that really got me was the second story. With Jesse. Oh my God. But it's like the mom didn't realize, or she didn't look too much into it at all until it was almost too late. And I'm pretty sure when the mom kept seeing the dark figure in the corner, that was what's the name? That was Stan. But that you would think that's kind of creepy though. That's like it's kind of sus how your kid talks about another kid or their friend all the time, but you never see that person. You never see that friend. Come on. And I feel like Jesse and the mom got possessed. And where did Devin come from? Oh. But then, all right, so the last story with the mall cops, I feel like all his coworkers was either sus, in cahoots, or sus hoots. Because where were they at when they needed him? That's the real question. But keep it cool, keep it classy, and I love you. Stay happy, my family.